The Beths have just released their third album, Expert in a Dying Field. We find Elizabeth and Jonathan taking a break from band rehearsal to tell us how the new record came together.
The city is painted with memory. The water will never run clear.
You've been pretty much on the road the whole year. You still have to practice that much?
Yeah, I mean, yes, all the time. But we are, I guess the difference between the last tour that we did in the States was, I guess you could almost technically call it still a Jump Rope Gazers tour,
Right.
even though it's years after the fact. So whereas these shows coming up are album release shows, so we're just kind of touching up a lot of the songs,
Right.
the new songs, to make sure that they're ready to go.
Ready to go. Very good. So is that, I mean, this is your third album now, so you've kind of been through this a few times. Have you learned from the past when you get to this point about what you have to do and get ready for putting the album out and getting the songs ready for stage?
Yeah, definitely. They never settle until you played them about 75 times, I think.
Right.
But like I think we kind of talked about, oh, we've got a bit of a catalog now. Maybe we could just be one of those bands that plays for 3 hours and plays
Right.
everything. And then we decided, nah, probably not.
Good idea.
We like to sculpt it a little bit more than that, and so we've picked a list. We play a representative smattering of hits,
Right.
and new numbers.
Right. Well, it's always good to leave people wanting more rather than to bore them to tears after 3 hours. I've been to a few shows like that, and it's not a pleasant thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and you guys were everywhere. Like, I do a lot of interviews with folks overseas, and as soon as they hear that I'm in New Zealand, the first thing out of their mouths is, "Oh, do you know the Beths? We love the Beths." So, I mean, you guys have been doing the work across overseas. What kind of, do you get different reactions? People wanting to know about you from, say, the UK or the US or wherever you happen to be?
Like different reactions when we're there playing live and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say there's like slightly different flavor, but there's also a kind of a cohesiveness to like our audiences as well, that we seem to like. They all seem to be quite nice, like lovely audiences, and we kind of, at the end of the night, the promoters will always be like, "Ah, that was a really nice audience."
I'll be like chatting to the person who put the gig on after the show, and they'll sort of like look out at the pit, so to speak, and they'll say, "Look at that." I say, "Look at what? There's not a single bottle or glass or broken thing on the ground, left on the ground at all after your audience has been here. You have the most behaved audience I've ever seen."
And it's interesting because, let's face it, you're not a mellow band. I mean, there's a certain amount of uncontrolled chaos on stage when you let rip on the guitar or whatever you guys are doing. So that can't be the reason why. Any speculation on it?
I think it's just putting the right things out there into the world.
Very good.
Just like being really obvious with your behavior means that other people just take their cue from that, I think.
Very good. So speaking of putting other things out in the world, you're putting out Expert in a Dying Field out next week. I assume that you probably started working on this album a while ago, and because you've been on the road for the last 6 months, so obviously not in the studio there. So where did you start thinking about this record, and what did you start thinking about it?
I guess, yeah, the last album release being kind of in the middle of 2020.
Yep.
Normally, we would have, in an alternate universe, we would have toured that record, for a year or 18 months or whatever, pretty heavily, and then at the end of that being like, okay, and maybe I would have been writing and like time off and start to put it together. But like it happened a lot sooner, I suppose, just because we managed to get a New Zealand tour in, and then like that was kind of it. And so straight away, I think I guess it was probably from the end of 2020 I started seriously kind of writing a new record, and then we started making it in
about June. I think we hit record for the first time in 2021, and
so we were arranging the songs before that, and
tried to make a couple of months of furious progress, and and we had about half the album together when the August lockdowns came along.
Right.
So, thought to ourselves, oh, this will be about 3 weeks. So we'll take a week off. Probably need a break and like maybe need to really sculpt this album a little bit more.
Right.
And then we'll get back to it. So, 3 weeks roll around and it doesn't look like it's changing. But we were already like we weren't thinking, oh, we'll just sit on the couch for a little while, because we thought we'd be back in the studio at that time. So we kind of just kept charging on through lockdown by ourselves at home. And yeah.
Very good. So did you, with 2 albums already under your collective belts, did you approach this one any differently? Did you have discussions between the 2 of you, the 4 of you? I don't even know how do you guys work really internally. So give us a little insight if you don't mind.
Yeah, we did. Because I mean, a third record is kind of like, you start to have options, I guess, whether whether like you want to do something that's entirely different, and some bands do.
Right.
But and it's not the second record is when you kind of like, if you make any changes at all, people kind of are like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
So I felt like that Band-Aid had already been ripped off, and we had a bit more freedom to kind of go as hard in any direction as we wanted to. But I think where we wanted to end up going was like kind of just, I don't know, we didn't want to go, we ended up not wanting to go super hard in a like a different direction.
Right.
We were just we're like, we're doing things that are experimental for us, like exploring new fields, different tempos, and different influences, but it's still the 4 of us, it's still Jonathan recording, and we wanted to make an album that sounded like a definitively Beth's album, I guess. Yep. And the other mission statements that we had were like, we wanted something that would be really fun to play live, we wanted something that would feel really immediate, and I guess, was there any other kind of goals we had when we were making the record from the start?
Yeah, we wanted to for you to be able to listen to one member of the band's playing from the start of a song to the end of a song, and like picture that person playing that thing in front of you.
Yep.
And like, this is part of something that I think we try to do with Beth's records, which is like, obviously we try to make them kind of fun and bright and easily engaging when you're just doing the dishes or something.
Yep.
But also try to make an album that you can put headphones on and listen to in a dark room and like really go deeper on.
Yep.
And I think part of that for me is like, there's some records that it's like, wow, amazing production and inserting certain flavor in the perfect moment, and it's pretty stuff, and that's cool. But this time around, I think we wanted more of the opposite effect of just like, oh, I can hear the musicians play, I can hear what they're playing, I can like sense their direction of travel.
Right.
I can imagine them doing this, because we want to be more personal, we want to be more real. We want to be real people.
Right. So. That's a nice thing. And so I'm interested because my perception of the way you guys work is Liz writes the songs and sings them and plays a little guitar behind. You probably are more responsible for the overall production and the sound of it, and you play a mean guitar. And then the other 2 kind of fall in behind. Is that accurate, or is that completely wrong?
That's accurate. The nuance of it is that like Tristan and Ben on bass and guitar are real ideas machines. And they're constantly throwing things at something that Liz and I feel like we've got really figured out in our heads. And then, it's like all of a sudden the smorgasbord just got like a whole lot more dishes, and you have to decide what flavors to actually put in.
You can still only put so much on the plate, but I think they challenge you to kind of like put something interesting on there as well. Right.
And so who makes the final decision? Is it a democracy, or is it something else?
It's not a democracy. Yeah.
So there is, I feel like Jonathan and I have final say in different ways, but then also there are elements in which Tristan and Ben have final say, in that like they do write their own parts, and so like it's if there's something that they adamantly don't want to play it, then they won't play it, and then
Right. Gotcha. Now you've got a few songs out before the album. One of them is called Silence is Golden, which has a music video attached to it. And I was hoping we could kind of dig into that one a little bit, because for several reasons, there's a vicious guitar solo in there. The song itself is kind of got some interesting lyrics to it. And also, watching the music video, I got to say, Liz, your lip syncing is incredible.
What are you talking about? I'm thinking that
I'm
live.
very impressed with it. So tell me about making the video and writing the song and recording it, whatever you want.
It's building to a siren screaming. It's building to a jet plane engine. Building to 6 a.m. construction. It's building and building and building until I can't function at all.
Yeah, I guess when I wrote that one, it started with the riff, and it's like, I was listening to, well, there are these like New Zealand bands that we love, like Lips and Wax Channels, and I think both of those bands have like a song that has that kind of like a similar kind of feel to it. This kind of like driving pedal riff feel. So it's like playing around with doing something like that, but making it Bethsy. So like had these kind of like mouthful verses that were kind of tumbling out, and then I had recorded like just the riff going along, and I kind of like tried these like big chords over the top that shouldn't work, like they kind of clashed with the main riff, but like the main riff kept going underneath. And it was kind of strange demo, and then I brought it into the band, and I was like, oh, this one's kind of weird, but everybody's really enthusiastic about it and about playing it, and so it was a front runner to be on the album quite early on. And then the recording process was
just smashed it out, and did a bunch of takes, and it was an oddly emotional one to record because it was so frenetic, and I think there was the emotions were charged at the time we recorded it, and then it was quite an emotional moment when we finally got it done, even though it's maybe not your most obviously emotional song,
right?
But it felt really good, and then
there's some catharsis in getting it down, I think.
Sure.
Kind of working through some stuff.
So would that have gone over the course of a few days, or would you have gone in how much what time period?
Recordings, ages. Like we would kind of write, and then start hitting record. I mean,
rehearsing.
We were rehearsing, and then we get to a point where we're kind of happy to start recording things, and then we kind of keep playing. We probably hit the record button a bit too early, in the process, and record a whole lot of meaningless, like not quite good enough takes. And then I think that was definitely, it was several hours worth of trying to get the take. I remember doing almost a full day on it with breaks, and then coming back the next day and basically having a half day before some of us had to leave the studio, and trying to get it on that half day, and then we got it on that half day. So it took a decent amount of time worth of just smashing out takes, let alone the whole writing and everything like that. I mean, I don't really know how people do it, making records in a couple of weeks or something like that.
Right.
Months,
really.
We work slow.
We work slow.
Hard but slow.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Which is what that's what's so baffling about it. Because I feel like, but I think the answer is, if you want to do it fast, you just work a little less hard,
right?
And then
settle for less, or settle for something.
Well, or settle for different, because I don't think that our process necessarily gets results that prove it's worth or something like that, But,
you can't, we're not there when other people make their records. We don't know what we're doing.
Gotcha.
Wrong.
And on the subject of Liz singing straight down the camera and lip syncing music videos, like this was something that was obvious to me from the very first video that we made. From the first time that the first director trained the camera on Liz on a really tight shot, and she just barreled the camera and sung the lyrics. It was like, wow, okay, every video from now has to do this. This is a superpower that Liz has. This needs to be manipulated just about every single time. This will be like half the video. Liz just sings straight on the camera. Is magic.
It is, because I'm a video editor myself. I've cut a few videos, and it's impossible to get them to do it even look like it's close to what it was. But I was watching you, and I was going, oh my God, it looks like a live vocal take. It was amazing. You didn't miss a beat.
Evidence of the vision of Liz's musicianship.
Very good. Now, you mentioned wax chattels and lips, and there's a lot of, from my point of view, there's a lot going on in the New Zealand music scene these days. It seems to reach a really high point. Do you look do you feel part of that? And do you have other folks that you feel like you're part of a scene? And especially when you go outside of New Zealand, does it feel like you kind of representing?
Yeah, I do. It's hard when we're getting older and we're touring a lot more, so we're like kind of around less and been to fewer shows, I guess, recently. Part of that's like circumstantial, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do really feel like we've definitely come out of a strong music scene and we feel really connected to it and really grateful for it. And going all over the world and seeing different music and just I feel like the music here is just like world class and kind of like in a world class and yet in a kind of world of its own. It's I think that's something that's really special because you get kind of strange music coming out of here that you wouldn't get elsewhere. But
Definitely.
yeah.
And you guys are in a band, but do you think about collaborating with other folks around the country at different times in different kinds of ways?
This sort of comes up in conversation a little bit, and I guess I collaborate with other people when I'm produce other people's albums. But,
yeah, China's always working with lots of different people.
Yeah, I think I don't feel like the collaboration is that necessary to like to the culture of a good scene. Like I think obviously it is to an extent. People need to come together and make music together, but I don't necessarily think that everyone needs a whole spider's web of connections to everyone else's work. I just kind of think you need to be forced into the same space and you need to listen and really love and respect the musicians around you, and then you just absorb the cool stuff that everyone's doing. Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, you don't even necessarily have to be like musically collaborating with somebody, but it still feels like you're collaborating on the project of a music scene.
Right. Okay, that's cool.
Right.
And so the band's been together since what, 2014? You've been doing this thing now? So did you have a concept in mind, a sound when you put the band together? And is that are you there, or has it just been an evolving thing? How thoughtful were you about what you wanted to do when you started making Beth's music?
Loosely, like when I made some demos, and like John and I had a shared playlist that we were both added to, and that I had a look at the other day. It was
right.
It was fun to look back at. It was it was like just like upbeat kind of. Jono was putting like a lot of like power pop on there, like
right.
I think added by voices, and I put on like a lot of Rilo Kiley and
right.
What else was on there? Some Weezer, some like Courtney Barnett. It started off as like very much like Gigantic by the Pixies would have been on there, just like
right.
fun kind of like music with melodic lyrics and hooks as much as possible. Yeah,
dense guitars, melodic hooks.
Dense guitars
and hooks. Sounds like a recipe for success. Do you feel like a successful band? What does make a successful band these days? Because nobody's getting rich, obviously. So what else?
How dare you? We're extremely rich.
Of course you are.
What makes the band successful? I don't know. We feel successful in some ways, and then like, in many ways, and then, but there's still obviously a lot of room to move.
Right. Okay.
Still ambitious. And we were ambitious from a point, and
you keep revising what our version of success is, and I think it's like a little bit. I'm a little bit uncomfortable defining it for other people.
Sure.
Because it's different for everybody.
This is different for everybody, and I don't really like to invite kind of competitive comparisons in music, but also there's stuff about what we do that I wouldn't wish on other people. And you really have to want certain things to do it. And
Yeah, very good. Well, it looks from the outside like you're living the dream. You got this band, you're making these records, you're touring the world. I don't think I've ever seen a bad review of the Beths. So, there you go. That's got to mean something to you.
We are living the dream. I feel like I'm living my dream. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for sharing all that with me. Looking forward to you guys are here playing. You're going to be playing at the Auckland Town Hall on, was it October 7th? It looks like, so that'll be fun. Yeah,
It'll be great.
it will be great. I'm looking.
Back at our
Excellent.
town hall.
Yeah. Back in our town.
All righty. Well, thank you and have a great day. And thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Righto. Bye-bye.
Kia ora.